Good morning, NIO fam. It is Saturday, 9:30 in the morning. What is the actual date today? It is January the 10th, 2026. I was about to say 2025. I can't believe it's already the new year. And we're already 10 days off into the new year. And in today's video, I'm obviously going to do what I did in all my other videos. I'm going to share where I see the stock going into next week. Before I begin, and what I like to do is I like to share off with a little bit of a story time so you can kind of hear a little bit about the kind of what's going on in Laser's life. Don't mind me, I have a fresh, hot cup of coffee as well. I do like drinking my coffee. I French press it, by the way. I used to drink my coffee in a Keurig cup. And I know the plastic K-cups that they come in, they're just terrible. I got like a stainless steel French press, and I French press my coffee every single morning with some nice fresh grounded beans. Can't recommend it enough. If you're still drinking coffee in a K-cup, switch to a French press, and it'll change your world. It does take longer to make your coffee. There's a couple more steps involved, but it's worth it. If you're doing it every single day, you might as well do it a little bit better. And I'm here now to review where NIO is going into next week. That was like my quick story. I don't know if I want to actually, you know what? There is another story that I want to share before I begin. In my last week's video, I posted two different scenarios where one, I saw NIO being ready and it was going to go up. And two, I said it may not be ready and we might get one more drop. And there was a few people that kind of came on Twitter, and I won't name any names, but they basically targeted me and attacked me, saying you're trying to call two different spots and you're flip-flopping. And this particular individual never watched the video. They said, it's too long. They said the video's too long. But they had the audacity to come and then complain, not understanding. So on Monday, when, and I'll just quickly just jump real quick in here before I give any disclaimers. On Monday on 4 hours, I talked about a potential lower high as being formed and a possible last drop, actually. And I basically confirmed that. I tweeted towards the end of the day and I said, hey, look, we have a lower high that actually formed. It could have formed like a continuation. It didn't. So because we got that lower high, it played out the scenario number two. Now, if you guys forget what scenario number two was, it was this, but this particular individual was saying, how do you go from predicting all the way up to all the way down? How do people follow this person? I mean, like, it really irks me. Anyone that says my videos are too long, they've been spoiled by watching YouTubers who clip, they edit it, they cut out bits. I make my video and it's basically, there's no edits. You're getting unfiltered. I challenge anyone to make a video like I do, unedited and just straight, and give the same amount of content that I do in a short amount of time. It's difficult. People think it's easy, especially when they're behind the keyboard. It's not easy to make a very, very quick video, especially when you're just trying to think in real time. This is not like me preparing and putting this stuff. It's me really giving you my analysis. And that's just the way it is. And so this particular individual, and I know some of you guys who are quite tight with the NIO community know who this is. I blocked the person, not because I couldn't handle what this person was saying. It was because I didn't want to engage with someone that was going to take away my attention from the people that matter the most, which are the people that follow me and actually support my channel. So I have very little time as it is. And so I like to give that to the people who do support my channel. And for that, I thank you guys who do support my channel. And for anyone that doesn't want to support me, and they're looking for a reaction by trying to attack me, I'm not going to give them their reaction. I'm just going to give them a block. And I'm sure they're going to say, you're weak, you're blocking this, you couldn't handle a little criticism. No, it's not that I couldn't handle criticism. It's not that at all. It's, I don't want to give any more time to anyone that's going to actually criticize and hate and be rude. All on top of that. So I don't have time for nobody. That was my quick story for this week. Having said that, here's some quick disclaimers. If you are making a big financial decision, please do your own due diligence and your own research. And sorry, this kind of ties into the story. I say that all the time. I said that in one of my tweets. I barely tweet now. You guys might notice that I don't tweet often. I said that in my tweet, and this particular individual said, "Oh, look at him now. Now he's saying do your own due diligence, and it's just my opinion." I say that every single time. This guy doesn't watch my videos. He doesn't know anything. So that's it. I think I've dedicated way too much time talking about it, but it needed to be addressed. And so I can put it to bed, not bring it up ever again, and we can get on with the show and talk about where we are going. So as of right now, if you missed my tweets and you're not following me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I talked about what I'm looking for before this thing bottoms. This is all part of a plan where we want to get a higher low on the 4-hour time frame. Now, as I'm looking currently to date on NIO, it's currently pushing and giving us a lower low. So we don't have a confirmation yet that our bottom is entirely in. Now, what that means and what could happen for next week to get a confirmation of what I want, and I'm going to draw this for you, is I want it to come down, back up again, and make a higher low. I should change that to white because that's the color of the velocity. Now, I can't tell you specifically exactly when that's going to happen, but we could try and guess. But like we could wait until we get a bounce and a recovery. But once we get that higher low on the 4-hour time frame, because that's the most important thing. This is going to be your short-term momentum flipping back bullish. Once we can get this higher low confirmation, what will happen to our 24 hours? Here we go. I'm going to delete now here. I'm going to delete this drawing. This drawing was from my 4-hour. What we can get, once the higher low happens on the 4 hours, our daily will start to flip up. It'll start to curl up. We'll start getting that curl up. And what we'll get is essentially a higher low on the 24-hour time frame. And we're gonna kind of work our way in reverse and go back into the higher time frame. And the reason that's important, now I was thinking this would have been a potential higher low here last week, and it was, but it was kind of in a very smaller window. But what's actually happening? And I believe it's going to come down, and when you make that reversal, it'll make these. This is also, you can make a higher low, and you'll have a trend line here. So if it makes a higher low like that, it'll be in an uptrend, and it'll start its rally back to the upside. And as we work in reverse here, we're going to go to the weekly. I should have done it starting with the weekly, but we can go back and work. We're waiting for our weekly, as you can see, to curl up. It didn't do it, and it ended up giving you that one last 10% move down. And this is one thing that I was kind of concerned with and worried about, is you would get the accumulation that would take place, the manipulation, which is currently happening, and then the markup actually. Look how it just intentionally slowed down right over here. It almost looked like, hey, it looked like it was going to reverse until it gave you this candle actually. It was tricky. Anyone that tells you, oh, well, I called it and it was easy, I'm sorry, but anyone who says they can call it like and calls it easy, it ain't easy. Charting NIO is hard. I've been doing it for a long time, and some of the best people have been stumped. I've seen some really talented people just get stumped. So it ain't easy. I could tell, and we all know that, but we're going to try and just kind of make sense of all of this. So if we actually look here, take a peek, we're waiting for this to curl up. And that curl, and by the way, we're still in an uptrend on the weekly. So this dip is still for the bulls. This is a gift for the bulls. So as we go down over here, we got a gift for the bulls. Still in our uptrend here. And we still haven't seen that rally. How do I know we haven't seen that rally? We're still below the 200-day moving average. All these, even this move, if you're worried, like, oh my God, I didn't sell at 590 and now I missed the run and it's going to go all the way down. No, don't get that mixed up. That's just the beginning. We actually have, and I'm going to, too much drawings. It doesn't take much for me to not like this when it gets messy. So we delete all the drawings here. Doesn't take much. Take a look over here. We actually have a velocity break. and now it's kind of just trending down. So that's really good sign that momentum is shifting towards the bulls, that it wants to attack around this this upper trend line, but it is coming down. And in the process, I take us to the 4 hours, because the 4 hour time frame is going to be the biggest key signal. Without going to the 2 or 1 and getting lost in the noise, we know the 24 hours hasn't given us that move. We know it's made a nice little bottom right over here, and it's coming down. And if it gives you a reversal, which it will when the 4 hour gives you a higher low, what you'll get is you'll get your move on NIO. That's going to be fantastic. And it's 464. And you can see it kind of trending downwards. And one of the things that I talked about in my last week's video was, okay, is this going to be a bear flag? And as it turns out, it worked out to being looking like a little bit of a bear flag. It broke down. But I do believe we're actually really close, because the momentum is telling me that we broke into the momentum on the upside, and there's a potential here for this, for all of the stars to align, and you can still get that move. So if there's anything that I can tell you that is meant to make you feel better, I know for some, you may be thinking, did I miss the move? And should I have sold it here? And that was all. No. You did not miss the move. The move that you get will happen above the 200-day moving average. That is going to be the move, a move above the 200-day moving average. And we're approaching this really big zone right here. Notice we're approaching this zone right here. And I called that last week. I said if it's going to come down around 430, 440, it may want to try and come down and give you a test right in that zone actually here. And it's doing just that. I think there's literally a gap right there. There is a gap to fill. I'm going to change this to regular timing. You can see the gap right here on the chart. It's $4.50, but the gap isn't actually at 450 because it closed at $4.46. The gap is actually $4.46. And if I were to take off that low right there, 438, that's where I got that number, $4.38. And so the way I actually see that playing out, I'm going to draw, I had it all drawn out perfectly, but we'll draw it out again. Let's see if this works. This is going to look very interesting once I stretch this out. Shoot. You know what? I'm going to do it like this. I'll have an easier time drawing it. I'll draw from there to there. Let's see. Something like that. Oh, let's see if I can do it. I'm trying to see it. Like where a retest, like basically a 550, I think is in the cards. And this is basically where you're looking at. And I think that could potentially be in the cards here for NIO. And and there's some confluence that this is going to be, and this was basically the second scenario here. Okay. Maybe like that. Something like that. Not quite, but it's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to just try and chart the pattern. I think at some point, this drop will give you a bounce and a retest. So you will see some green. I think maybe even next week we can see a bounce up and a final drop into the final drop zone. And it consolidates here, and then we go all the way up. And when I say up, and some of you guys may have, I've said this over and over again, but I'm going to say it again. And I don't know if anyone else is calling it. I don't want to take credit for it, but I'm going to say it again, and I've said it again and again and again and again. This is a rare setup. It's not just for NIO. It's for it is for most Chinese stocks that I'm saying that when we get a velocity break to the upside, which it will signal a retest of this resistance line. So this big orange line you see here, this is leftover resistance. Why is that leftover resistance? Well, where was it rejecting? It was rejecting here. and it left this. And when you see this setup kind of happen, I've seen time and time again this setup play out. Let's go logarithmic. Yeah, you can go logarithmic. It doesn't matter, regular. I've seen it time and time again that when this is ready to go, you're going to get this big giant move. And it's like a magnet. And we talked about it last time. So the unfortunate part here is we are currently waiting now for a different type of fractal section to play out. We're waiting for this to kind of come down lower. It's taking longer. Patience is going to be required here. Everybody knows the fundamentals with NIO is trending in the right direction. I'm not a fundamentals guy anyways, but I do follow some of the fundamental people, and they've been talking nothing about good things about the fundamentals improving. So these are things that I'm not worried about. And as far as the chart goes, hasn't lost this section. Is it still on regular scale? Yeah, we have not lost it. And it looks almost like it wants to come and give you that last test. I don't think it'll go straight down into this 430 zone for 420, 430. I don't think it will. I think you're going to get a bounce first. And you might even see that bounce maybe next week. And then as I go into the 4-hour time frame, yeah, we are just waiting for that higher low to kind of take place. So my prediction for next week, this is my prediction for next week. I predict this. I predict next week it rises back up and retests around $5. And then the following few weeks, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, I don't know, exact time frame, it makes its final descent lower. Why not? Let's just, you see it all the time. It'll just take a little sliver right below the low there. And that the rest will be history. And then you get that big rally. Now the one thing that I would say is that the longer this takes, the longer we take, you don't need to worry about missing out on like other plays or anything like that. Like, oh, I'm stuck and all these other plays. The longer this thing takes to make its big move, the longer it takes, guess what? As time goes on, that resistance goes higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. So our price targets get higher as the longer this takes. And eventually we're going to kind of get above. We will get right above that, actually. And if I were to remove this, go back to logarithmic, we were going to take a look also to see if there's anything here. And take a look here. When I go from the very bottom to the very top, this puts things into perspective. What do you see here? We saw here a move up, all from basically 330 all the way up to $8, and it's giving you a pullback. It tried for the 50 at 493, and your next big Fibonacci here is 439, 426, which is your golden pocket. From a timing perspective, there was two theses that I had for the timing. First one was, let's go and take the timing here. I think it was like 86 days or something like that. Yeah, there it is, 86 days. That's how long it went up. Here's how long it's basically gone down, starting a new cycle. Now, my other thesis was, it wasn't 86 days. It took us, let's measure that time, 100 days to actually break this downtrend. It took 100 days to break that downtrend, which would mean it would take us 100 days to break this, to reach the bottom, which would mean January 30th. And so that was my second thesis. This is not the first time that I've said this. I'm not moving the goalpost. If you watched any of my previous videos, I talked about this also being a possibility. And where does that take you? To January and February. And there was something special about February. And I'm trying to remember why February was special. And I think it was because, oh yeah. So if I go and draw out this trend line and use the Fibonacci trend line tool, go from the top and measure right to the bottom. And let's just assume it goes and sweeps the low at 430. Okay. We'll sweep the low here at 437. What made it special about this trend line here in February is look at that. Okay, this is why it's special. February 27th. I think I remember doing this. If we went and said, and I'm not an Elliott wave guy, but I'm sure there's an Elliott wave person here that will tell you. If we went and said that was a single wave 1 and we're going down to a wave 2, if you got a wave 3 move would be, here, hang on. I did the timing wrong. So let's say on the 30th, bottom's at 430. So you would get something along the lines of this. You'd get a 1, a 2, and I don't know if that makes sense. It does make sense because you would now be getting. It does make sense from a Fibonacci. I'm not gonna measure the 4th. I mean, actually, I could. I'll just do this. I've never done this, but what you can do is this is all theoretical. But you would say, okay, it hits $12.45 in February, and then it's going to give you a pullback, a 50% pullback. Let's say into 739, and then let's delete this quickly. It's so messy. Let's delete this. It's so messy, and then you can say, okay, based off that, I know the next extension will at least take me all the way up to $15 minimum, potentially $17.84. So you can even go, okay, that's where it's going over the next, I guess, right into the summer. This you would actually have to be an Elliott wave person to really kind of understand kind of how this works. I'm not an Elliott wave guy. I don't really lean heavily. I understand kind of the principles and the dynamics behind it. But this, I believe, would make sense. You would get your first wave up. It actually retraced all the way down. And I think you will probably likely get that golden pocket retest here right at 425, 440. And then it would move to its wave 3. Wave 3 is the fastest and most violent and largest, which would actually put the move, and you measure that move, it'll have to at least be the same move from 0 to 1 or more. So at the very least 954, but you would see 1080. And we have resistance. We know where it's going right there, 1260. And I can put a date time on that, February 27th. And then, of course, let's just say it cools off, gives you that dip, and then we get that final push into 1755. So that is how this can all play out. And, of course, what would end up happening once you get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is this whole thing ends up being, from a Fibonacci perspective, a 0 to a 1, and it would give you kind of a bigger, broader correction into basically a 2, which would then give you a bigger move into the actual like macro bigger 3. And that's how Fibonacci works, actually. It goes bigger, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Some of you know this. In fact, I think some of you guys would know this a lot better than I can, but I think I did a good job explaining it. If I didn't, and you guys are an Elliott wave expert, I want to hear it in the comment section below. Let me know how I did, actually. I try and steer clear from this because I get it's too much. It gets too technical. It's not my thing, actually. But I'm just trying to add confluence. The reason I share something else is it's always nice finding confluence. When you have confluence, you can actually build confidence in a lot of things. Now, I don't want this to be all about just saying like the one scenario can play out. The one thing that we want to actually look for, and we want to be careful to look out for this scenario, and I will kind of mention it. If we do not get a big move soon, and I don't know exactly how long it'll take, but if our 200-day moving average on the 24 hours makes a lower low because this thing takes too long to go up, and it did so over here, and it did so over here where it bottomed and it took time for it to bottom, any following bounce and move should be approached with extreme caution. Extreme caution. Oftentimes when you get that lower low, it means, okay, yeah, you're going to get a bounce. It's going to give you a bounce up, but it's not that higher low continuation. It needs to build a higher low first. To paint that picture, it needed like another 4 months of like consolidation before it can go. And what I mean by that, and I can't tell you until the time comes, you guys. I can only share my opinion, but it's a possibility. Is you would get this. Where is it? Bars pattern. And that's the last possibility that you would get. Something like this. Okay, but I would imagine it would take you higher. And if it did something like that, again, I remember our resistance, the level remains intact. And I fully believe that that's where it will be going. 1000%. And it's that's my conviction. I can't guarantee that it'll happen, but that's what I believe. Now, how do you actually process this information? Well, when we do get this big move, and if this scenario plays out, I don't think it will, but if it does, you're still going to get a big move, and it'll give you the option to make a decision as to what you want to do moving forward. So we gotta play out these different options, play it week by week. For now, I'm watching our 4-hour time frame. This is where all eyes are set. All eyes are set in the 4-hour time frame. We want it to make that higher low on the 200-day moving average, which it's doing because you can see it's coming back down. We want the velocity to do something like that, which would look like this very clearly. So we need our 4 hours to start curling. We need some green. Okay, we need some green on NIO, and we might even get that next week. We can get it like that, and ironically, it'll make this inverted head and shoulders, which is a very, very bullish path, actually. Kind of almost something that you saw right over here on the 4 hours before it went like this. There's your inverted head and shoulders, and it went boom. And so it's a harmonic pattern that you can actually see sometimes when you're looking at the velocity that they often show sometimes. So that's it. That's my analysis here on NIO. NIO was minus 1.9%. We're going to look at Baba, Baidu, JD, KWEB. There was a request for GameStop. I will do a super quick overview on GameStop, but I'll be towards the end. I know most people don't care about GameStop, but it's a meme stock. It's a popular stock. There was some news about that. I will just look at the velocity quick. There was someone who requested that. I will do that at the very end. But first, we're going to do all of China. So we're going to quickly look at Baba here. Baba, very interesting. It still maintains, we're still below. Okay, this looks really messy. There we go. That looks a little bit more cleaner. It's kind of coming down this pathway. It's giving you this choppy move. We're below the midline on Baba on the 24 hours. It did give you a higher low, so that's a beautiful look. I love that. And it actually gave you a higher high. So we're actually in an uptrend for Baba. Baba is now in an uptrend on the 24-hour time frame. Does the weekly still look good? Yep. Well, let's see. Yep. Weekly still in an uptrend, barely here, but you want it to kind of curl up. It's giving you kind of, I mean, it is breaking this trend line, but that doesn't mean anything. It's still making a higher low. Our 200-day moving average is still curling up, so it's still overall in an uptrend. And there will be that curl up. That curl up actually should be happening very soon for Baba. The fact that it actually is, it gave you a higher low right here. What you may want to possibly look out for just with Baba, same thing like NIO. It could do something like up, back down, and then run. So it's going to give you the higher low takes place over a bigger time frame. And it still gives you an uptrend, but it takes the long path. It actually did that right over here. So if you look, you would say, okay, hey, we got a higher low here, a higher low right over here. And then it kind of broke back down, but it still gave you an uptrend right here. Look, it actually gave you an uptrend right there. It's still a higher low relative to this. And if you don't want to count that, you got these higher lows. And when you get the higher lows, everything flips bullish once you start getting that. It's how you know the trend is flipping. So it looks good so far for BABA. I would say, based off what I could see, just looking at this chart, I still see that gap there at 135, 136. I could see that being like, you know, a last move. Come down and then it would make it moves. It would almost align itself. If I go to the 4 hours, so this is interesting. 4 hours, you guys might already see it before I call it. But if you take a look and analyze and you're looking at the 4 hours, what is it that you see on the 4 hours, on the velocity specifically, that stands out to you? And I'm going to delete these arrows. I hate that. No need to have them there anymore. What is it that stands out? And to me, what stands out to me is similar to what we saw in NIO is I see a lower high. Right? And once you get that lower high, you know what happens to our daily? Daily flips down. And so we're going to get, you know, downside on BABA. And that's not like a bad thing. It's just, I just think it might need to come down lower. Did the 4 hour 200-day moving average make a lower low? It didn't actually. It made a higher low. So it's interesting. It's not totally... And here's the way you kind of want to interpret this. Because it made a higher low here and you made a lower high here, you don't necessarily have it's like really, really bad yet. It becomes bad once it makes another lower low. Then you're in a downtrend, right? You now have a lower high, a lower low. And what could actually happen for BABA, it could come down, it could make another higher low. And then you're going to make that higher high. Then it's like, okay, now we have continuation. We can keep going. It's a very tricky thing. But when I look at the 24-hour time frame, we're still below the 200-day moving average, still below the blue line. Our 200-day moving average is curling down. So even if you do get a move, it'll be a counter trend move. So was NIO's trending? Yeah, NIO is trending down. So we're going to play this all by ear, actually. It's even if NIO does get that move and we start getting this move, you'll likely get this bull flag move. See, this bull flag move was because we needed to turn up on the 200-day moving average, actually. So there's going to be opportunities and windows when it comes to NIO. Baidu looks so good. And look, it's up 1.61%. And I had this circled for weeks on end that it's going to go to 200. It looks so good, Baidu. It looks like it does. It's starting to curl down. What does the 4 hour show us? 4 hours already shows like a lower high here, a lower low. So Baidu's about to break down lower and give it a pull back. It made this awesome move. I think Baidu's about to come back down and give people a chance to get back in. Not a bad thing. Because overall, what I think that would do on the 24-hour is it would just give you its very first pullback after breaking above the two. It would look something like this. Okay, so it comes down. Okay, on the 4 hours, it comes down, gives a higher low, and it goes. Make that yellow. Delete the scribbles so that you guys can actually see it, because this is awful. I apologize. This is awful. That's awful. That's awful. Something along those lines. And I said it all along. Baidu was the best performer. It had the best setup, actually. And the reason it had the best setup was it made this higher low on the 200-day moving average. And it was that to me, and it did it before every other Chinese name. And that to me, you can see the strength of when you get that higher low that takes place. But 4 hours, let's see, it just made a lower low on the 200-day moving average. So I think Baidu might be running out of steam, and it's going to give you a bigger pullback. JD, you could see here it's giving you higher lows and a higher high, but it might be forming here a lower high. It's kind of in a similar boat as NIO, where with JD on that 4-hour time frame, it gave us the lower low, and now it might want to give you that. Sorry, it might want to give you that last little drop. I'm just trying to line this all up here with NIO, and I think that could also play out here. How much of a day was that? It was okay, that's only 2.5% day. 24 hours. JD was one that I didn't really like too much. It's above the 200-day moving average. JD actually looks really, really good. Really good on the daily. This is a amazing look. Look, you have that higher low on JD. Uptrend on JD. I could see already, look, it's already made its move up on the daily, which means it may want to pull back on the 4 hours. So I could see it come back down. And you could still see something like this on JD play out, where it comes down and does something like that. Back to white, so you guys can actually see what I see with JD. This is the way I see it. And it would still be in an uptrend. Oh, and then we'll draw out this 200-day moving average. Something like that. JD's getting ready to, in my opinion, it's going to, if you're in JD, and look, it's actually like it took out all these lows. It took out all these lows. I think it's getting geared up and ready to run right up to $45. So it's towards the end, you guys. It's like end game. If you watch Avengers, which I did actually recently, great movie, by the way. We're near the end game for JD, actually. And I think for most Chinese names, we're going to get those big moves are coming. But I surprisingly really like JD. JD looks good to me. I think there was one thing I didn't like on JD, and it was the weekly. Yep. The weekly is the weakest spot for JD. And what that tells me is while it's gearing up for a big move, and you might get that big move, you get this really big move, it tells me that you might get the rejection after that. So it would look something like this. Comes right up into 45, gives you that pullback, and then it finally breaks out like that. That's what that tells me on JD. KWEB, I didn't like the weekly either on KWEB. And this was one of my favorites for the setup. And I have this drawing set up, and it's going to be in the same fashion. It will make you a big move. I bet you the 24 looks great. Yeah, the 24 looks, well, see, it's interesting. It broke above the 200-day moving average, but notice it already, 200-day moving average already made a lower low. That's signaling that the move that you're going to get will be a lower high, likely. Odds are that you'll get a lower high on KWEB. And it may want to come lower down. Maybe not in this time frame. It'll probably go like this. Up, it may want to come lower down before it actually does that. And how that looks like on the daily. Draw that on white. Let's clear out some of this mess so you guys can see what I see. And we'll make that yellow. You guys kind of see that now? Okay, it makes a short rally, and then you get the higher low again on the daily, and then it moves. So if you're, and I know there's KWEB bulls that are here that watch me as well. So that's what you can actually expect. Actually, I think KWEB is going to be a lower high run, and I think JD will be the same thing. I don't think that for NIO, and the reason why is the weekly actually is way stronger. And for Baba, I don't think that, and for Baidu, I don't think that. I think those three are in a category of its own, with Baidu kind of already looking the greatest out of all of them. That covers all of the Chinese names that I'm going to cover in this in today's video. I do want to make sure I make some time for the Seng Index and the US dollar. So we go to the Seng Index. We're going to quickly review the 24. It's looking good. It's looking I can immediately see, look, it's already broken out. It's making this big move. And we have essentially already a uptrend. It's already giving you a dip. Look, how much did it drop? It dropped already like 2%, which is decent. That would have been aligned with likely. Okay, so it hasn't given you a lower high yet on the 4-hour time frame, which looks like it might do that right here, a lower high. And this is basically in line with NIO, which is interesting. I think you're going to get a lower high something like that. It's going to come back down. We're going to test 2,500, and then it'll go, and it'll give you a lower high, which will confirm the bigger move down here. It'll come back down. I'm scribbling. I don't know if anyone's following here. Maybe I'm losing some of you guys here with all these scribbles. Let's erase. It's so messy here. Hope I'm not losing you guys. And if I lost you at any point in this video, ask the questions in the comment section below. I'll do the best I can to try and clarify if I actually lost you at any point. Let's get that white so you guys can see. This is almost like, this 4-hour chart almost looks like NIO's chart. Let's see. Similar. Where's NIO's 4-hour chart? Yeah, it already gave us a lower high on NIO, but I think Hang Seng will kind of follow that same path. Does the US dollar give us any information here? So the US dollar, okay, here we go, US dollar. This is the 4 hours looking quite bullish, but how about the 24 hours? 24 hours, okay, so it's interesting. On the US dollar, it gave us a pretty huge move off of a lower low. So it hasn't given us the higher low yet. You haven't gotten that daily pullback on the Hang Seng, and it's still below the midline. So there needs to be a pullback. Pullback will come when you get the 4-hour lower high. 4 hours still looks to be topping out. It hasn't even given signs of a pullback on the 4-hour. And what that could mean is you can grind a little higher before it gives you the lower high in that last drop. So that could actually, it could be like looking, you would want to look for something like that. And the reason I would lean this and not like super bullish, the reason I'm leaning towards a lower high is I know on the 24 hours, it has not given you that higher low yet, which is needed for the bigger move to actually take place on the US dollar. On the weekly, you can see it's still in a pullback phase on the 24 hours. So it could give us this last little drop here, but I would be cautious because when the weekly does flip, you'll likely get another big move up, and everybody's going to say, oh my God, US dollar, people are freaking out. But the US dollar, the 200-day moving average, it's going to need a little bit more work to do. So it's in a very delicate position, something that I'm going to have to revisit and do a deeper dive in later videos. At this time right now, I'm still short-term bearish when I'm looking at this 4 hours. It's bouncing off of a lower, I did make a higher low here. Our 24 hours, I think, is what confirmed it to me. Yeah, it's still a counter trend rally, and it needs to give you a sizable pullback. It needs to do that. No red alarms, nothing to worry about here. And in my opinion, I think overall the trend, it could just be, what is it? What's the golden pocket on the US dollar? 99.63, and then it'll come back down. Okay. GameStop. And let's quickly review GameStop. It's going to be a super high overview of the velocity. Someone wanted me to take a look at GameStop. I'm going to show GameStop here real quick. GameStop, interesting setup on GameStop because when you look at the weekly, it's made a lower low right over here at this $19 zone. And it's actually setting up for a potential higher low. If it gives you a higher low, the last time GameStop gave you a higher low, now if we were to go back and look, lower low, a bounce, and it dies. Lower low, a lower low, bounce, dies. Lower low, bounce, dies. There's a couple of times that you've gotten higher lows. You've gotten a higher low right over here. It took place right there. It was a nice move, 44%, and it even gave you another nice move right over there. Another higher low. Made a lower low, and then the other time, which was the most recent time it gave you a higher low, was right here where it had this big move when Roaring Kitty came back. You got a really nice squeeze and hype and excitement. So it looks poised to make a really nice move because it needs to make a higher low. And what do we know about the weekly time frame? We know that when the 24 hours makes that higher low, that's when the weekly flips. So you need the 24 hour to make a higher low, and then the 4 hours, and then you're ready to go. So let's see, does a 24 hour look good? If I look at the 24 hours, Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay. Take a look. It tried to make a higher low over here. Technically, it made a lower low relative to that, but it is a higher low relative to this, which means maybe you get a little bit more of a dip, but I think it's coming. Maybe it comes back down, and you might get a really, 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 really big move. I think is coming. I think a big move is going to come for a lot of these stocks, actually. It requires a lot of patience here. Now, because I could see on the 24 hours, it's gone up. We go to the 4 hours. Look, it already gave you a lower high right there. Lower high. So what does that mean on that lower high? In my opinion, what that means is you're going to get a dip next week for GameStop. It's going to come down. It's going to give you your dip. A potential higher low will come in for GameStop, flipping the weekly. And the weekly's got a wiggle room. And you're going to get a nice big move on the way for GameStop. 40-50%, I think, could actually be in store. So someone asked me, the reason you might be asking, why the heck am I covering GameStop? I had someone in the comment section make that request. I do like GameStop. I've tweeted about GameStop in the past before. It's tough not to actually follow it. And then I already showed you the 4 hours, the 24, the weekly. What does the monthly look like? And there's your monthly. Monthly is not the best look, but it reminds me of the weekly. You have the lower low. Why is it showing me like this star? Anyways, there. So you can actually get that move up. And of course, the monthly when the monthly flips is only when the weekly makes a higher low. So if the weekly makes a higher low, you're going to get a big move. So there is the potential for GameStop to make a big move. Whoever's a bull on GameStop, you had every right to be bullish. I think something big is actually also along the ways. And there was a news announced stock option award. I think I read about it. Something about where he wants to bring the market cap to 100 billion, or he won't get paid, similar to Elon Musk's package. Okay, that sums up GameStop for me. That sums up my video. And again, it's a long video, but I put this out every weekend. If you're new here, we drop one of these videos once per week. This video ended up being a little long. I apologize. But if I lost you at any point in here, please ask your questions or leave it in the comment section below. I appreciate all of you guys. It would be really helpful if you guys remember to smash the thumbs up button, hit subscribe if you really enjoy my videos and you're not already subscribed to my videos. And other than that, remember, if you don't have your health, nothing else matters. So get out there, go for a walk, take good care of your health, eat good food, exercise. Health is everything. You guys got to live till tomorrow for you guys to see the stock market tomorrow. And the stock market can stress you out. Don't be stressed out. Relax. It's all going to be all right. Okay, guys, that's it. Have a wonderful weekend and cheers.